Um, this is day 1706, right? Wow. Okay. Making sure everything works. Correct. Go on here. Okay, so this. All right, so this is 1,706 days since Richard was systematically, premeditatedly, um, he was targeted. He was targeted because he was a whistleblower, and they treated him very badly. Um, they did not do their duty to protect him. There were security breaches all over Fort Bliss, and it was very political. This is the thing. El Paso is so political because it is the front door to the United States. It is the trafficking depot. It is the epicenter of the trafficking. And it's a nightmare. It really is a nightmare. And so to think that something like this could happen to a volunteer soldier on Fort Bliss, and it just shows you how far we've come because I'm very familiar with Fort Bliss. I'm very familiar with El Paso. I'm familiar with Juarez. I was born at White Sands. Went camping all the time in Cloudcroft. Um, love the area. It's an ancient city. It's on a grid. It's an ancient city, which makes it also, ripe for mining, and that's why they're called the UTEP miners, because it's it's there's a lot to dig around there. There's a lot to dig, and so I understand the area. Of course, understand somewhat, not 100%, but somewhat. I have a good idea of the military, of my dad being in the ADA, and Rob too, with his father being at Biggs, um, our family being a member of the German American Club there because of the Germans being stationed there, the Luftwaffe, after World War II. And, the Rocketeers, the missiles, right? The missiles and the rockets. And um, so I have pretty good, well, better than what most people would have, I think, in this similar situation. It was just amazing to have uh, a knowledge of the area, because then you can't be conned. You can't be conned as readily, okay? I'm not saying that we weren't misled and we had to regroup at the beginning. Absolutely, you couldn't believe it that generals would be so treasonous, right? So betraying us like they did, lying to our face. And I don't say that easily, and I don't say it happily. It's not a happy thing. It's absolutely the truth. They were lying to our face, and to cover up, not so much for what happened to Richard, but to cover up for the criminal activity there that's worth billions of dollars and that they're compromised with. Um, it's the only explanation, right? Do we need a subpoena bank accounts? You should have seen, we were in a meeting and I said, well, did you look at their bank accounts? And you should have seen the horror on their face. They were just so upset at the suggestion that their bank accounts would be audited. Um, it was just like, it was so obvious. It was so obvious. that something was very, very stinky, very, very crooked, very, very compromised. So, and they told us that we had to investigate and bring them leads if they were going to do anything to help us. And with these magnificent leads that we brought them, they kept calling a nothing burger, right? They kept calling a nothing burger and they wanted to put Richard in cold case. And we had these amazing, and it wasn't like we were making up, fabricating leads. We were absolutely investigating in the leads because of the corruption or the criminal trafficking, the that leads to LLCs and money laundering, and also with the contracts that lead to politicians and just other crimes that were going on, and other victims' families that were speaking up. Of course, the Walmart mass shooting victims were under a gag order, and so they couldn't speak. Um, but yeah, except for yeah, uh, those that don't care about rules. So you're we just, by their reaction, by the information that we were getting, we always had to adjust and file in the background, keep filing, and knowing that we were up against something so big that we couldn't even comprehend it. Saying Goliath was hopeful, because we knew what we were up against was way bigger than Goliath. And so this whole thing has been absolutely miraculous, that we have gotten the mountains of robust, quote unquote, robust evidence. I love that, right? I love that, um, when a friend told me that, wow, you have some robust evidence. Yeah, we have mountains of it. And it's been a miracle. It's been absolutely miracle that we have it. And a very important, some very important evidence that we have is a series, a whole host of audios of Joe Spencer. There's some other people in there too, but the main person speaking is Joe Spencer, and it's a lot to go through. It's a lot to go through, and you find nuggets, and you just wonder, are the people, is El Paso, are they going to care about Joe Spencer and what he says, right? And is that going to have any effect on our son's case to get accountability for um, who took our son's life and who covered it up, and also to drive the DOD to give us our son's remains so we can bury him, whatever they have. I know it's going to be a mess. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be absolutely, you're going to want to throw up, right? But we want what they have. They don't have a right to him. He's our son. And so this is uh, what we're getting closer and closer to. And we ask all the time, are these audios, are the other evidence that we have, will they get us closer to that? And things just happen, and God wants things exposed when He wants them exposed, right? And He gives them to us, uh, for His purposes. So we have our goals, but God has um, a greater eye on this, right? He sees it all, and He understands what needs to be done. So we are just absolutely trusting in the process of justice, right? In the process of justice. And so we felt like it was really necessary, even though I've talked about it, that we had the audio that Joe Spencer um, and I don't even know if I said Joe Spencer, but I was saying that Patrick Crusius surrendered himself twice. And, there are multiple witnesses on that. But this audio is very important of Joe Spencer confirming what we have said, that Patrick Crusius surrendered himself twice. And why is this important? Because right now, there is, seems to be, it's very clear, the evidence is there, that this criminal group, Joe Spencer with Bob Moore, are trying to develop or have and are perpetrating it another false another false attack. um it's not enough that they hurt Richard. It's not enough that they hurt Yovan Rosales. Clearly they did. It's not enough that they hurt Judge Roger Rodriguez. It's not enough that they hurt us. And, I could tell you lots and lots of stories about that, especially at Christmas time. Um, you know, their attacks are really, you know, uh, demonic. I would say that. And so, it's not enough for them to do that. They have to then go after President Trump, right? And that's really who they're targeting. It's come full circle because at the beginning of this, they were targeting President Trump, okay? Because President Trump, in 2019 and 2020, he, just like now, was the commander in chief. And he was the chief law enforcer of the country. And he was also the chief magistrate of the country. And, and that's legally, okay? That's legally. And that's what they care about because that's how you get things, if you can take that over and compromise the justice system and compromise um, the rulings of cases, then it's kind of like this Luther Jones. I posted up on Luther Jones. I reviewed Luther Jones. Of course, because of having a long history and friends in El Paso, we knew about Luther Jones, right? And so looking him up, that was fascinating, right? To really focus on who Luther Jones is and what he did to lose his law license and have to serve time for his fraud and his weaponization of the justice system and the judges, and to get favorable rulings that would meet his business needs, and contracts, right, and his pocketbook. Uh, and so, people are looking at him, and it seems like even though they got him, another person took his place because is continuing. Because clearly, um, our audios absolutely confirm that Joe Spencer was in this for the money, for the open checkbook and the delays, the purposeful delays that he did with backroom deals with Judge Guadarrama and Judge Medrano is very clear in other audios that we have, and that Patrick Crusius is autistic, that he's not a white supremacist, that he's not a racist, that he has a severe mental health condition, that he, failed kindergarten, um, that he even couldn't do very well in special education. He couldn't concentrate, y'all. He would get frustrated, right? He would get frustrated and he would start hitting himself. And so, you know, once you hit 21 years old, I think you lose funding for an autistic individual. So, so here, Patrick Crucius, I really feel at this time he was a patsy. You don't have family members in the federal courthouse that stay silent. You don't have, he's a twin. You don't have a twin that stays silent, right? Um, through good times and bad. Um, and clearly he's the patsy because the day after August 3rd, 2019, they uh, filed an application for uh, to get the state lawyers to get the appointed counsel, right? The application for appointed counsel, which would be paid for by the taxpayers, all the taxpayers, and and 0.00000 income, and yet he had enough money to have a car and had enough money for gas and had enough money for a computer and enough money for internet and enough money for an orange and enough money for gas to travel hundreds of miles. Um, he had it all, right, for insurance and everything. And yet, um, August 4th, 2019, they said he didn't have a farthing, not a nickel, nothing to his name, not a penny to his name, nothing, not even a half a penny to his name. It was 0.000. And with that, he was approved, and Joe Spencer got what he wanted, an open checkbook of taxpayers' fund, because only a taxpayer fund would be an open checkbook, okay? Because regular people just can't. They have to budget, right? They have to budget. And no, but the taxpayers, they're always put on the hook for this kind of nonsense. And it was really taken advantage of, really taken advantage of. Um, so clearly it was for the money. Clearly it was for delays. Clearly, um, Joe Spencer had a different agenda because clearly he knew that Patrick Crucius had a broken brain, right? And yet, something that he would have to do to plead 90 counts of hate crime, right? He would have to, and I think it's required by the state of Texas, that he would have to have the state conduct a mental health evaluation on Patrick Crucius. But that was never requested, that was never done. And so he violated the law on that. And I think that's really, really important. And then to have, um, these audios that declare that Patrick Crucius surrendered not once, but twice. Twice. And I'm going to put up the timeline. The timeline is fascinating, so fascinating. And the pictures of Patrick Crucius that they did leak in the Walmart show him with only one 30 uh, round clip. Okay. Only one clip that has 30 rounds in it. Also, the weapon that he has, uh, you know, has a certain speed in which it can shoot out bullets. Not all guns are created equal like that. And so they have different capabilities. So you have to know the forensics because in the timeline, really, he had probably less than a minute to go into the Walmart and do the dirty deed, uh, with that weapon and only with 30 rounds, right? And then before he had to leave very quickly in order to surrender twice. In order to do that, this adds a lot of minutes on there. And a lot of minutes, it could be 3, 4, 5 minutes. That's a lot of minutes in this timeline because we know when he surrendered, we know he went when he went into the Walmart, and so you only have this um, this structure to operate in, right? When he got there, because of cameras and everything. And so you only have this limited scope. And he structure, whatever you want to call it. Um, and it doesn't fit, y'all. It doesn't fit. The weapon doesn't shoot that quick. I mean, it shoots quick, but not as fast as you needed to be, right? And then 30 rounds was not enough, right? And then you'd have to have, I mean, unless you have some major skill, right? Major skill where you can get two with one round, right? And several do injury with one round to two individuals or two injuries. Um, it's just that it's very, it's impossible, y'all. It's impossible, especially for a person that, the reports are out there that, he couldn't even tie his shoes when he was 18 years old, you know, it, it- and this is not to this is all forensics. You have to get the emotion out of it and say, look, he didn't have these motor skills to do this. He didn't have the mental ability to plan this. And then they're saying, they're trying to blame it on Trump and they forgot all about the manifesto, right? And the manifesto clearly says Trump is not uh, influence on them. And then it also is that he's a Democrat, right? That Patrick Crusius was a Democrat, and then they changed it into a Republican. Then they started playing politics with the whole thing because it's like, oops, we forgot to do that. It's kind of like, back thinking the setup because clearly in my opinion, this was all orchestrated and a setup because there's no other explanation for the delay, and all of the anomalies that are with this case. And you have all of these statements by Joe Spencer that, just contradict all the narratives at the beginning and even complicate or I guess disregard the entire timeline, right? Um, and nothing fits right. Nothing fits. You can't say that Patrick Crusius surrendered twice and there be no time in the timeline for it. So where was he? And to me that means because also the time, this is another thing that was in this audio drop is, that he thought he was going to die, but yet he goes and buys an orange and he puts hearing. Why would he put hearing protection on if he thought he was going in there to die? You know, um, why would, and then what happened to the hearing protection and all of that? Um, it's just when you have seconds, really literally in this whole thing, seconds, if that, because it had to be less than a minute in the Walmart. And could he do it in a less than a minute? You know, and could the weapon do it in less than a minute? See, that's where the forensics is. Um, and from what we have been, um, this has been a long, drawn out investigation. From what we've been told, no way, no way. And God puts these amazing people in your life that have expert opinions on this. Police officers, right? Police officers, individuals that have absolute experience with this, and they say, no way, no way, no way. Um, and where is the record of all the training? And then so this audio that he thinks he's going to lose his life, and is it totally debunked with the two surrenders? Well, I think there were two surrenders because we have other testimonies to that, but um I just think that there's some shooters at large. That's what I'm thinking. He was, he was the patsy. He was the patsy. That's what it looks like to me. So, and then, going on Bob Moore and El Paso Matters, please, please. I mean, everybody, uh, uh, Bob Moore is so disgraced and so discredited. And he is so, where is his reporting, his true reporting on other very vital stories, um, e- including Richards. I mean, what happened to the story? We've sent him all the stories with the judges in the mag court, and the um, the medical examiner, and uh, so many stories about Richard. And please, he is, and we did that um, very deliberately to not leave him out of the loop, because now we've gathered mountains of evidence that he is discredited, that he um we really should start a petition to take away the 501c3 that he so enjoys, that they at El Paso Matters, that they enjoy. And they don't deserve at all. They don't deserve it because they are absolutely political. And you see that with this whole thing with President Trump now, that they're targeting President Trump, and that they're even, it seems like they were even threatening to subpoena him to, do their lawfare, to weaponize the judicial system. That means they still have people in the judicial system that they can manipulate and compromise, right? That are compromised, because it's just insane that they would bring President Trump in at this time when, all the evidence is so against them, right? Clearly, that it's a lie and it's a manipulation. So, yeah, Bob Moore is absolutely fake news through and through, through and through. And you have to come really to us to get, uh, you know, decent news for El Paso in the Walmart case and Richard's case. You have to come to us. So we really, really appreciate it. But, getting back to Patrick Crucius and, surrendering and not having a medical health evaluation, and all the other issues that are surrounding this Walmart mass shooting case. It's now that the gag order is not there, not valid anymore, or it's been taken away, right? Um, maybe we're going to get more and more questions answered. So, you know, Joe Spencer is up to no good, and their target, has come full circle to President Trump now. And of course, they targeted Richard. Of course, they did, right? Of course, they targeted the individuals who died on August 3rd, 2019, in the Walmart. Of course, right? But their first and foremost target from the beginning was President Trump, and now it is President Trump again. And it's just to deflect. It's just to deflect and to do a political attack, to weaponize the judicial system, to weaponize our legal system against President Trump. And so I hope you're not fooled by that and that you don't condone it, because and that's why we decided to drop the another audio um, showing that he cannot be trusted. Joe Spencer cannot be trusted. Bob Moore cannot be trusted. And we know for a fact he can't be trusted because he was defending Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, who and her family, which is Danae Katzen, the credit card girl, right? The scammer, the four-time 10 most wanted fugitive for her fraudulent activities, for fraud, right? And the cartel connections. If Joe Spencer wants to defend them, then something is really stinky, right? Stinky. Why not defend Yvonne Rosales? Yvonne Rosales is a Democrat. Why isn't he defending her, right? So something is very, very stinky here, because who does he choose? Um, who does he choose to defend? A usurper, right? A usurper, Bill Hicks, who has had a very a questionable manager, DA manager. Um, a manager of the DA's office. Yeah, Bill Hicks is a usurper. So, and he just is, glossing over that, or not even glossing over it, not even mentioning Bill Hicks. And um, yeah, it's very, very clear. This is not about justice for Joe Spencer. This is about cover up at this point. It is absolutely cover up because, you know, um, once the FBI step in, once the law enforcers step into this, they can all go to jail, y'all. I mean, he could really go to jail. This is another, this is why we put on this Luther Jones, um, for people to remember what was going on with Luther Jones. And I think that Joe Spencer can absolutely, and Judge Guadarrama, and um, Felix Valenzuela, to uh, they could all go to prison for what they did to um, take all the money and delay the uh, justice, delay justice. So I think that is, you know, a huge hurdle. Um, and I think once the fraud is called out, then I think we will absolutely move the ball forward in Richard's case also, to get justice, to expose um, the questions that we have, right? The questions that we still have. So thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow. Oh, today is Rose Sunday. Oh, it's already midnight. We're burning the midnight oil. But I hope that everyone had a wonderful Rose Sunday. Um, and we will be back tomorrow. We're fighting for for, of course, for Richard, but for El Paso and for Juarez, for truth, give God the glory. Um, we're halfway through Lent. Easter is, we can see it. We can see it. And so, we need to stay in that spirit of hope for just the oncoming miracles that we're experiencing every day. And it's all going to happen. It is, because look at how far we've come. It's just amazing. It really is. So thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow.